Merry Christmas. It's a double feature day. There are 4 movies that are coming out today, Christmas Day 5. You have The Fire Inside, Nosferatu, A Complete Unknown, and Baby Girl. And then the 5th one, which is is Better Man. I say kind of because it's limited release. Mine is The Better Man, which I don't even know when I'm going to get to see that, but I'm doing pretty good. I saw The Fire Inside last week. I saw Nosferatu last night. I'm seeing Baby Girl tonight. I just got out of A Complete Unknown. Let's talk about it. Directed by James Mangold, stars Timothée Chalamet, Elle Fanning, Monica Barbaro, Edward Norton, and a whole bunch of other people. So this movie focuses on the early part of his career, so from about 1961 to 1965. I don't know barely anything about Bob Dylan. I know the music better than I know the artist, if that makes sense. Like, I can name you several Bob Dylan songs, but if you ask me anything about him trivia wise, couldn't tell you a dang thing. But I do know about Bob Dylan and the electric guitar. And that's kind of the focus of this movie, sort of. That's what we're leading up to. The issue with this movie, and I think this is this problem with a lot of biopics, especially lately, is the lack of focus. It's like the very beginning, we're just kind of we're chronologically going through, different points of his life. He arrives in New York, he meets Woody Guthrie, he starts to record his debut album, which was all, traditional folk songs. He meets his girlfriend, who is called Sylvie in this movie, meets Joan Baez. And so, different events that kind of led up to it. And in the middle of these events is this artist who's desperate to sing his own songs, have his own voice. And you gotta get this theme about, finding yourself, being yourself, and having the courage to be who you are creatively, especially as an artist. Even when the tide seems to be against you, because he was a folk singer, is a folk singer. And there was this big push for traditionalism in folk music at that time. So no one wanted to hear the electric guitar on the folk stage at all. Bob Dylan walks up on a folk stage, plays the electric guitar, and it was not, well received. Eventually they got there, but at the time it was countercultural. Everything about Bob Dylan is countercultural. I guess I know a little more than I thought I did. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, that's the thing about Bob Dylan, and he was always very countercultural, and he used his music to really speak out against or speak up for things that were happening at the time. This is the 60s, so we're talking about things that are happening overseas. We're talking about things that are happening down south. He was very vocal about a lot of those things, and I think where this movie falls short is we're focusing a lot on the countercultural aspect of him in folk music, but we don't really get there until the end. It's like the second act of the movie, that's when we start to focus on Dylan being, a brick wall, if you will. And no, let me phrase that. Not a brick wall, more like a bulldozer going up against a brick wall. That theme, though, is just not a consistent thread. At first, it's more of an internal struggle of him standing up for himself and making his voice heard, but then it becomes, him against the machine. And yeah, it sounds consistent, right? But it's just not. There's just something missing. The thread just doesn't quite connect the way it should. And I think that's the only issue I really have with this movie is just, the typical biopic trappings. It can feel a little episodic in the beginning, but I think when we get to that second act is where the movie really has a rhythm. But for the most part, it's great, it's good. But I think the standout here is, obviously, there's no arguing this, Timothée Chalamet. I am the kind of nerd that will go on Reddit and, participate in and read and listen to conversations around the Oscar and awards season. And your 3 biggest contenders when it comes to Best Picture, Colman Domingo, Adrien Brody, and Timothée Chalamet. Now, the movie is kind of getting, a mixed reception, but there's no denying his performance in this movie is, next level. He completely disappears in the role, sits in it, and, almost wades in that water, and he's so comfortable in this seat, if that makes sense. And he completely just envelops this other character of Bob Dylan. But that's the thing about Timothée Chalamet, and I think I said this about him when he did Wonka, that Timothée Chalamet is an actor who just loves his craft. He loves what he does. It is evident on screen. He's not just here to do a job. He loves this. He loves acting. This isn't just a job for him. It's not just a hobby, it's a passion. He's very passionate about this. And I think that just comes across on screen. But his performance it's vulnerable, it's deep, he's aggravating. He is very strong in this role. He also sings all of the music, which we all knew Timothée Chalamet can sing. Goodness. This isn't quite a musical, but it's interesting he did something like this 2 years in a row. But I digress. I think Timothée Chalamet's performance elevates this because outside of his performance, it has, the typical pitfalls of a biopic, and that's unfortunate. But it's definitely one of the better biopics I've seen this year. I think The Fire Inside, which I saw last week, probably the best biopic in terms of structure that I've seen all year. This is a close second. But Timothée Chalamet's performance is one for the books, definitely. I love Elle Fanning, though. I've been a fan of her since she was literally pint size. She's just an incredible actress. I love how professional she is, and I love how daring she is. She is very different from her sister. Her sister takes it so seriously, and they both take it very seriously. They're just very different in their approach. But I feel like Elle Fanning is not afraid to kind of get in the mud a little more than Dakota is, but I love the difference in their professionalism. I'm kind of going on a tangent, but I've been a fan of Elle Fanning for a very long time, and what I love about her is that I trust her. I know that whatever is happening on screen, she's going to give me 100%, and it's going to be incredible. It's going to be flawless. It's going to be amazing. She's consistent. And I love actors that you can trust, that they're not hit or miss. She's always a hit, and I appreciate that about her. The performances in general in this movie really elevated to the next level because you have Monica Barbaro playing, Joan Baez, and then you have Elle Fanning, both of them playing kind of emotional tugs for Bob Dylan in this movie, and, helping to, round out his character a bit. I thought that structure and that development was interesting. You have Edward Norton. I love Edward Norton, but whatever. As Pete Seeger, and that was just such a good performance. That was just, I don't know. I love when actors just fall into a character. They don't step into it, they fall into it. And I feel like everyone just, free falled into this movie. I just wish the structure was just a little bit better. The revolution that was the electric guitar for Bob Dylan, obviously that's very important. It was such a shift in the industry, but I think to downplay the role his music played in so many other cultural revolutions, I think that was kind of a miss. The way we just kind of pop up with Blowin' in the Wind, and it's clearly an important song and it's very popular, but we're not really exploring why it is what it is. We're just kind of skimming through these different songs that he does, that he's done, and we're not really taking the time to explore the emotion and the meaning behind it. We're just, going from event. I think there's enough time within this movie that we could have taken our time a bit to explore what all of that is. It's not like you have to add extra minutes to the clock. It's just a matter of restructuring. But yeah, that was sad. A solid 7 out of 10, I would say. Definitely a solid 7 out of 10. Great performances. I love the music in this. I love folk music in general, but I love the music. The only issue for me is just the structure. Not that big of a deal. I mean, it is a big deal, but the performances are what's worth watching. Definitely. Thank you for listening to me ramble once again. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You guys are amazing. I love you, and I'll see you next time.